What does the rainforest represent to you? When you zoom out, look at the entirety of it.
Carl Sagan's pale blue dot resonated with a lot of people. That everything you've ever heard of, all the heroes, all the villains, all of your ancestors, every achievement, tragedy, triumph, everything has happened on that one spot. This one tiny, tiny little rock that has life on it. And to me, the rainforests represent the crown jewel of that. As far as we know and to the best of our knowledge, and with our shrewd scientific brains at their fullest capacity, this is still the only place that we know that has life. And given that, the fact that there are still these tropical, towering, complex ecosystems that we are barely understand, crawling and full of the most incredible life, it's just, to me, it's so wonderful. It's so incredible. The waterfalls and the birds and the macaws and the jaguars, it's barely believable. Like if you were to theoretically tell a hypothetical alien that I live on this planet and there's just these places where everything is interconnected. Everything means something to something else. And the whole thing is this system that keeps us alive. And each tree is pumping air into the river. And there's an invisible river above the actual river. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing goes into stabilizing our global climate. And each little tiny leafcutter ant somehow contributes to this giant biotic orchestra that keeps us alive and makes our environment possible. That is beautiful. I love that. And so the rainforests to me are the greatest celebration of life and probably the greatest challenge for us as a global society, because if we can't protect the crown jewel, the best thing, the most beautiful part, then we're really, really missing the point.
Yeah, the diversity of organisms here is the biggest celebration of life. That is at the core of what makes Earth a really special thing. That said, you and I have been arguing about aliens for pretty much the day I showed up. All right, so you brought a machete to this fight. Luckily, the table is long enough.
I can't reach you.
You can't reach me. So to you, Earth is truly special.
Yeah.
You don't think there's other Earths out there, millions of other Earths in our galaxy. When you look up, we were sitting in the Amazon River.
Okay.
At dark, the storm rolled over.
Yeah.
And you started counting the stars.
Yeah.
1, 2. And that was, once you can count the stars, that was a sign that the storm will actually pass. Eventually will pass. And that's what you're doing. 3, 4, 5. And it's going to pass. You're not going to have to sit in that river for like all night. So just a couple hours to keep yourself warm. Okay. Each of those stars, there's Earth-like planets around them.
Okay.
Why do you think there's not alien civilizations there?
You can write down a calculation on a napkin. You can cite different Hollywood movies. You can point up to the pieces of light in the stars. But if I talk about show me a single cell that's not from this planet, it's still not possible. And so I agree with you that the likelihood is there. All indications point to it. It would be fascinating. Especially if it was done imagine finding a planet of alternative life forms, not necessarily even intelligent. Imagine just a planet of butterflies, whatever, something else. That would be amazing. But I'm concerned with the reality that we have in front of us is that this is the spaceship. This is life.
Yeah.
And so right now, given that reality, maybe that's the case. Maybe there are other planets. Or maybe we are the first. Maybe life originated here. Maybe God, the universe, whatever. Maybe this is it. This is the testing ground for something bigger, and this complexity and this diversity of life and this life that we have is that important. And I think that part of what we do when we go, oh yeah, but there's other planets, where first of all we're taking an assumption into reality without. I mean, aliens right now are about as real as Santa Claus. We think they're out there, but we're not sure. Maybe they're a little more real because, it could make sense. No one has an alien. No one's seen an alien. No one's even seen cellular life. And so I'm not, again, if they showed up tomorrow, great, let's study them. But right now, we have this very simple threat going on where we can't stop killing each other and our living environment. And so while some people can specialize in looking to the stars and to other planets and talk about being an interplanetary species, I'm very much concerned with the fact that here in our home turf, our living environment, where the air is good and the rivers are clean and the trees are big and there's macaws flying through the sky and salmon in the rivers, not only do we have a responsibility to each other and to our children to protect this incredible gift that is our entire reality. Seems kind of weird to, at some point, conservation seems kind of ridiculous. Like you're begging people to not pollute the things that keep them alive. It's almost kind of silly at a point. But we have this incredible thing where there are fish in the ocean and in the rivers. They come standard with life on Earth, and we're harming the ability of Earth's ecosystems to provide for that life. And we are the generation that's going to decide if those systems continue to provide life to all the people on Earth and all the generations. And by the way, all the other animals that exist for their own reasons, other consciousnesses that we're just beginning to understand, elephants, humpback whales, whatever, families of giant river otters. Not everything can be seen from a human perspective. These are other species that have their own stories. And so I'm more biocentric than anthropocentric in that I think that nature is important, but I also believe that we are special. We are the most intelligent animal.
So one, I agree with you. There's some degree to which when you imagine aliens, you forget for a moment how special and important life is here on Earth. Yes. But it's also a way to reach out through curiosity and trying to understand what is intelligence, what is consciousness, what is exactly the thing that makes life on Earth special. Another way of doing that, and I see the jungle in that same way, is basically treating the animals all around us, the life forms all around us, as kinds of aliens. As that's a humbling way, that's an intellectual humility with which to approach the study of like, what the hell is going on here? Yeah. This is truly incredible. Like, are the animals we've met over the last few days conscious? What is the nature of their intelligence? What is the nature of their consciousness? What motivates them? Are they individual creatures, or are they actually part of the large system? And how large is the system? Is Earth one big system and humans are just little fingertips of that system? Or are each of the individual animals really the key actors and everything else is in the emergent complexity of the system? So I think thinking about aliens is a necessary, I like my Tom with a little drop of poison from Tom Waits, is a necessary perturbation of the system of our thinking to sort of say, hey, we don't know what the fuck's going on around here.
Sure.
And aliens is a nice way to say, okay, the mystery all around us is immense. Because to me, likely, aliens are living among us. Not in a trivial sense, little green men, but the force that created life, I think, permeates the entirety of the universe. That there is a force that's creative.
Now, the force that created life is a big one. And then the other thing is, what do you mean by that? There's aliens living among us. You mean extraterrestrials?
Yes.
Living among us?
Yes.
You believe that?
Not like 100%, but
Okay.
there's a good percentage. I don't understand how it's possible for there not to be a very large number of alien civilization throughout just our galaxy.
But that's different than saying that they're living among us. If you tell me that there's aliens living 5 galaxies over and that they're just out there somewhere, I'm kind of more on your side than that they're here. Because just like Bigfoot, like we have camera traps, we have DNA sequencing through water now. Like we can. You're telling me no one found one wing nut of a ship in all, like the Egyptians up until right now? No one in Russia saw like a crashed ship, took a picture, tweeted that shit real quick, and
I think there's no Bigfoot. There's no trivial manifestations of aliens. I think if they're here in ways that are not comprehensible by humans because they're far more advanced than humans. They're far more advanced than any life forms on Earth. So they're, even if it's just their probes, we cannot just even comprehend it. I think it's possible that they operate in the space of ideas, for example, that ideas could be aliens, feelings could be aliens, consciousness itself could be aliens. So we can't restrict our understanding of what is a life form to a thing that is a biological creature that operates via natural selection on this particular planet. It could be much, much, much more sophisticated. It could be in the space of computation, for example, as we in the 21st century are developing increasingly sophisticated computational systems with artificial intelligence. It could be operating on some other level that we can't even imagine. It could be operating on a level of physics that we have not even begun to understand. We barely understand quantum mechanics. We use it. Quantum mechanics is a way we use to make very accurate predictions, but to understand why it's operating that way, we don't. And there's so many gigantic, powerful, cosmic entities out there that we detect. Sometimes can't detect dark matter, dark energy, but it's out there. We know it exists, but we can't explain why and what the fuck it is. We give it names, black holes and dark energy and dark matter, but those are all names for things that mathematical equations predict, but we don't understand. And so all of that is just to say that aliens could be here in ways that are, for now and maybe for a long time, going to be impossible for humans to understand.
So aliens in the strict biological sense, like horseshoe crabs, we agree that they're not. We haven't found physical aliens.
The only way I can imagine finding physical aliens is if alien species are trying to communicate with us humans or with other life forms, and are trying to figure out a way to communicate with us such that we dumb humans would understand. Like, let's create a thing.
Yo, there's a moth the size of a small eagle.
Let's try to get us 15 minutes of attention.
It just might.
Big fan of the podcast.
Okay. Lex, I love you. All right. So wouldn't it be interesting? It would be really fascinating to me if we found out that there were aliens living among us and we couldn't see them. And what some of the people were calling aliens, the scientists, the religious people were calling angels. And then everybody had this realization that whether you call them aliens or angels, there are these there is way more to the universe than we're realizing. Mm-hmm. For me, the fact that there's
a skull on the table.
Yeah, there's a skull on the table.
There's now a skull in your hand.
There's now a skull in my hand of a monkey with a bullet in its head that I found on the floor of an indigenous community where they eat monkeys. I didn't kill the monkey, so save your comments. But, in terms of the animals, I think that when I see space, my feeling, and I'm not requiring anybody else to have this feeling, but because it's the only place that we know that there's life and we have no idea how it started, I just think it's so important to protect it. And for me, it's just as much about our children as it is about the little spider monkeys and the little baby caiman that are in the river right now, because life is so beautiful. Yeah. And I think that there's a huge amount of intellectual responsibility that we can transfer off of ourselves if we go, yeah, the rivers are filled with trash and yeah, extinction is happening, but we have to be an interplanetary species anyway, because at any moment this could all end from an asteroid and like everything's going to shit anyway. And so it's like, we're fucking up this planet. And it's like, we're just being angry teenagers who are, going goth for a while. And it's like, what if you just rolled up your sleeves and said, holy shit, wait a second. We can pretty much do whatever we want. We can fly all over the world. We can do heart transplants. We can watch Netflix and the Amazon if we wanted to. Like, we could do all this amazing stuff. We can capture on video our adventures and go back and watch them again and again and again. There's so much incredible opportunity that technology has allowed us to do, and we're the richest in history. I mean, we could do everything. we could cross the whole planet in a second. And it's like, that's an amazing time to be alive. And if we just don't fuck up the ecosystems and kill all the other animals, we got it made.
Yeah, so it is true that we can destroy ourselves with nuclear weapons, but it also is true that that snake that I got to handle yesterday is like one of the most beautiful things Earth has ever created. In that little organism, it is encapsulated the entire history of Earth, and it's beautiful. So both things are true.
Yeah.
We should worry about the existential destruction of human civilization through the weapons we create, and we should become multiplanetary species as a backup for that purpose. But also remember that this place is really, really special and probably, if not difficult, probably impossible to recreate elsewhere. And by the way, there's something incredibly powerful about a skull.
Yeah. If you've ever hold a human skull, it'll give you it'll weigh on you for a sec, because you look into the hollow eyes of this face, and suddenly you feel your own teeth, you feel your own skull, and you go, holy shit. You go, what is going on? It's like taking acid. You just go, oh boy. Mm-hmm. I forgot that I'm a ghost inhabiting a meat vehicle on a floating rock.
But even a monkey.
Yeah. It's
like looking at a ancestor. You know, not a direct ancestor, but it's like like you're looking at a puddle at a reflection.
Mm-hmm. A little blurry, but
it's a little blurry, but it's still there.
Yeah.
It's still there. And like the roots of who we are is still there. And it's all kind of incredible. Do you ever think of the tree of life, just kind of like where we came from?
Yeah.
The jungle is ephemeral. It's a system that just keeps forgetting, because it's just churning and churning and churning and churning. It has, in some ways, no history. But to create the jungle, to create life on Earth, there's a deep history of lots of death, sex and death.
A festival of sex and death. Life on Earth.
That's what I see in the skull.
Yeah. There's something kind of terrifying about that image to me. Like when I hold that skull, every now and then at night, you hold that skull and it just reminds you that you're temporary.
Yeah, both you and I will one day have one of those.
Yeah.
Mine will be bigger.
God.
The male competition continues.
The silverback slaps the lesser male once again.